Hi, it's Mikey Leung with Digital Storytellers. We're here at the Social Marketplace, and now we're joined by Christopher Thorn. Chris is a partner in Evans & Partners, joining in May 2012, where he provides investment advice to a broad range of clients, with a particular focus on strategy, governance, and asset allocation. But he's had a long career in the investment consultation industry. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Micah. Good to be here.
So tell us about Evans & Partners. What do you guys get up to there?
Well, Evans & Partners is a relatively new firm, been around for about 7 years, and principally focused on servicing high net worth families, not-for-profit organisations, but also work in the corporate and institutional space, really around the wealth management piece. But obviously that ties into the topic of today because social investment and philanthropy is obviously a very important part of what our clients do and how they like to be involved.
Great. Tell us how you would advise a lot of these potential investors if they want to enter this space. Tell us about how that process goes or what you tell them.
Well, for most clients it's something they want to do, and invariably it's something that clients, if they weren't raising with us, would like us to raise it with them. So it's not something we have to take to them and sort of convince them to do. It's normally something there's an interest somewhere in the family. So our skill or job is to try and identify where that interest is and then draw that out and provide ways to help them through the process of working out, one, are they, or if they're going to give money away, how they're going to do it, both technically in terms of how they structure that, how much they give, and then down to how they engage with a particular social enterprise or philanthropic interest.
Take us into the mindset of that investor a bit more for the audience out there. What is it that we need to know, either from the social enterprises that are here today or the organizations that are trying to create a better future? What is in the investor mindset?
Well, generally everyone has something that they're interested in, arguably passionate about, something that's touched them. And if they understand how they can make the connection between using their financial wealth or assets to actually enhance what they're passionate about, if they can get a picture of that, then that creates a pathway through to some really exciting things happening. So again, our task is to try and help them or identify what they're really passionate about and get them to be open about that so that we can then come in and support that interest.
How would you go about sort of increasing or broadening that base of philanthropic work or social impact work here in Australia? What steps would you take if you wanted to increase the pie, so to speak?
Well, I think most of all it's about making people aware that this activity exists. A lot of people over a long period of time have done philanthropic things, generous things, but haven't necessarily made the connection into the wealth management space or understood that there's actually a lot of resources around there that can help them. So partly it's about advocating for, explaining that those resources are out there and then tailoring them to the need of the client. So really it's about increasing the level of awareness, sharing stories, case studies, things that have worked, highlighting where things haven't worked, because that's obviously important for some people. So it's just about trying to create the connection for that investor, that philanthropist, to take advantage of the resources that exist.
Can I ask you why you're involved in this space personally? And I guess if I was an investor coming to you, they'd want to know that reason why you care about these things.
Well, I've had nearly 30 years in financial markets, and one of the things that's always interested me is actually how you build capacity. And one of the ways you build capacity is by creating finance and access to finance. And philanthropy, social investment needs finance, so it needs people who understand those markets to bring that together. So I could have gone and worked in a not-for-profit, and I've chaired and established some not-for-profits, but I've stayed in the finance sector because I think the ability to help more people through accessing the resources of that sector is going to make a much greater impact.
Okay, great. Today's event, it's all about creating that bigger impact. It's all about creating the marketplace. It's advancing the social impact cause, the knowledge, the capacity building of the enterprises here today. How do you feel about today's event?
Well, again, it's a great opportunity to explain to people what's out there, how they engage, maybe help people sort of shift their perception of what's going on and actually work out how they can fit into that, re-educate. Often the same terminology is used by people but actually means different things, and vice versa. People think they're talking about the same thing but they're talking about different things. The idea of a marketplace where people can come and test those thoughts and ideas and learn from one another, I think is a great concept.
Okay, great. And obviously you've had some interaction with the Centre for Social Impact as part of this. CSI is trying to take a leadership role in it. What would you advise them to do in that space They've been taking a cross-sector approach involving individuals such as yourself, but what's going right? Where do you think they could go with this kind of stuff? Do you have any suggestions there?
Well, I think they've started off by trying to, again, educate the market, build the learnings into a research context. The real issue then is how you actually translate that into action, how you actually get people investing and how you actually take people beyond the intellectual into the practical. And again, having this sort of exercise where you bring together the practitioners, the people seeking finance, I think is a great step forward. Future think for me for a little while. What do you see happening in the impact investment space in the short term and in the long term? I think we're going to actually challenge some entrenched thought. I think it's quite possible in the next several years we could have a not-for-profit listing, either debt or equity on the stock market. So in the public capital markets, having a not-for-profit issuance. I don't think people are thinking like that at the moment, but I think it's quite doable. I think the access to scale capital rather than just very small, dare I say it, cottage industry scale social enterprises, the ability to take that to the scale where we can access the commercial players, the institutional players, I think is going to be one of the things that's going to transform this sector.
In the short term, or is that just the future in general that was, yeah?
No, I don't think it's that far away because I think we're talking about a perception shift rather than huge mechanical issues. But we've got to get people to think about these things differently. And again, that's the beauty of a few days like we're experiencing here.
Great. Well, just like everyone else, you've got $10,000 in your pocket to consider investing in one of these fine enterprises here today. Have you seen any horses leading the race so far, or?
Well, I've only been to a few to have the conversations. I'm really keen on the buffed social enterprise. I think the idea of offering that sustainable employment model that's providing a service that people need, and the ability to position it, the impediments or the barriers to entry don't seem to be all that high. And I like that. You can see the business model coming through. I hope they do well.
Great. Well, there might be some money on the board there pretty soon for them at Buffed. Great. Well, thanks so much for your time today, Chris.
Great. Thanks, Mikey.